This past weekend, we saw Terrence Crawford put on an absolutely amazing performance. He went out there and snatched up the undisputed welterweight championship of the world by putting a tremendous beating on Errol Spence. But while all that was happening, we also had things going on at 135 pounds and 140 pounds, two divisions which have been on absolute fire lately. And the man holding all the belts at lightweight, 135 pounds, Devin Haney, is one of the guys that we're talking about consistently. Now, going into his last fight with Lomachenko, we already knew that there was a real possibility that was going to be his last time out at 135 pounds. He's been big for the division. He isn't getting any younger, and he was talking about how difficult that weight cut was. So then all of a sudden, we see Shakur Stevenson move up, and he's talking about how he wants all the smoke and how he wants to get with Haney. So it's not surprising that Devin Haney didn't exactly jump at that. Of course, you know, he's out there and he's saying, I'm making the offer, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Shakur Stevenson is saying, you don't really want the fight, you're lowballing me by offering me only 25%. One thing I know for sure is that I always, deep in my heart, felt pretty confident that the next time we saw Devin Haney come out, that it was going to be at 140 pounds. So it doesn't surprise me that all of a sudden we see the announcement that he said that he wants to move up to 140 and fight Regis Prograis. What did surprise me, though, was that all of a sudden we saw that the man petitioned the WBC to maintain the belt at 135 pounds. I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me, man. You have to be absolutely kidding me. This man is just gonna sit here and hold the belt hostage at 135 pounds. He's been complaining about how he wants to move up for a long time, talking about how big he is. He's got people at 135 pounds calling him out. I mean, obviously you got Lomachenko who wants the rematch. You've got Shakur Stevenson, who's the mandatory, who wants to make this fight happen. He's trying to bypass all of that, move up to 140 and fight Prograis and still maintain the belt, claiming that he's going to eventually come back down and defend it. Man, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe there's one chance at all that this man moves up to 140 pounds and then moves back down to 135 to fight. Right? And we see all these tweets coming out between him and Shakur Stevenson, Shakur calling him out, saying it's bogus, you know, just this, that, and the other thing about these guys going back and forth. Let me tell you, I fully believe in my heart the next time we see Devin Haney step into that ring, it's going to be at 140 pounds, and it's going to be fighting against Regis Prograis. And the reason that we're seeing that fight now, because Regis Prograis is that guy that nobody's wanted to fight. He's that guy that nobody's called out, and he's always been there at 140 pounds doing awesome work. But that last fight that he had against Danielito Zorrillo, man, that was not what I would call his best performance. And I get it. On the one hand, it's a homecoming fight, and people have always talked about these homecoming fights and how they can be difficult. Promoters have mentioned how they're not the biggest fans of them. There's just so much emotion and so much pressure, and there's the family and the friends and everything that's kind of going on with it. And not everybody handles it the best. And you get some fighters who have put on awesome performances who underwhelm, underdeliver when they come home. So we see Prograis go out there and he fights Zorrillo. And dude, that was exactly what we saw there. We saw an underwhelming performance, right? We saw a performance that was not the typical Regis Prograis. And he saw problems dealing with two things in that fight: movement and the jab. There's two things that Devin Haney excels at: movement and the jab, right? That's why he's moving up to 140 pounds now and calling out Regis Prograis. That's why he never said anything possibly about it before. That's why he's saying it now. It's because dude didn't look great in that last fight. And look, Devin Haney isn't exactly the best mover. He's got good footwork, and he can move him around when he needs to, man. Believe me, he's not flat-footed by any means. We're not talking about him the way we were talking about, you know, Adrian Broner with some wide stance, and he's flat-footed, and you can move around him, and you can cut angles and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, Loma was able to get angles on him, but Loma was able to get angles on everybody except one fight, Teofimo Lopez. But Devin Haney has probably the best jab in the game. Regis Prograis, man, I mean, he's a killer. We've seen him go out there. He's got a good jab of his own. We've seen him be able to march forward and get his shots off. And we saw him have trouble with all of that against Zorrillo. That's why he's getting called out now. Do you think that was an aberration of what Prograis brings to the table? And the next time that we see him out there, he's going to be the Prograis of old? And do you think it's going to matter? What if he comes out and he's better than ever? Is that going to be enough to beat Devin Haney? If Devin Haney just does what he does, man, if he gets behind that jab, it's like a spear. It's long, it's sharp, it's accurate. He's able to, from there, once he's able to get that going, he's able to put things together. Is that going to be enough to beat Prograis? Look, Prograis a lefty. We saw Devin Haney have some trouble with a lefty last time out in Loma. But Loma's a special fighter, man. And Loma, not only that, Loma fights in a way in which other guys can't fight. He's able to, and his ring IQ is so high, he's able to make adjustments on the fly, and he's just able to do things that you don't see other fighters do, particularly fighters of his age. I mean, dude, he's got this wealth of experience from the amateurs going to the Olympics and the gold medals, and he's coming all the way up through the pros and the guys that he's fought. It's like typically when you see a guy have as much experience as him, when you've seen him go in there and do all of these things, the man's body is starting to fail because he's old. How else do you rack up all that experience? That's not the case with Lomachenko, man. We're seeing a guy at a lighter weight who's able to make all these moves. He's got all this experience. He was able to go out there and just throw a complete wrench into everything Devin Haney was doing. I mean, let's not forget when he was in the corner in between those rounds and he was talking to his dad, man, he had worry in his voice saying he figured me out. He's doubling up with the left hand. He didn't really have an answer for it. It's why the fight was so close. It's why the decision ended up being controversial. It's why Loma wants to get some get back because but we're not going to see that fight, man. That's not going to happen. That ship has sailed, over and done with. Nobody is out there talking about having a rematch with Vasily Lomachenko. We're only hearing Shakur Stevenson, which is ending in this lowball offer that may not possibly be happening, whatever the case may be. And we're hearing the very real possibility that I think is going to happen next, Devin Haney against Regis Prograis at 140 pounds, October 28th. Man, this is going to be a good fight if it happens, though. I'll tell you this much. I've always got this weird feeling when you see a fighter try to, all of a sudden he sees one fighter have a subpar performance and thinks that he's able to run over there and cherry pick it. And it's like, on the one hand, I love that the fight's happening. I love that we're going to be able to see these two gentlemen get them up. On the other hand, it's like, why'd you have to wait until all of a sudden you thought he was ripe for the picking? So I love it when you see guys fight guys when they think they are at their absolute peak, man. Like when Teofimo went in there and fought Vasily Lomachenko, or what we just saw this past weekend with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, dude. And it's just like Clash of the Titans, right? So that's the absolute beauty in the sport. So don't get me wrong, I would really look forward to this fight. I think it's going to be an awesome fight. I think we're seeing two highly skilled men get in there at 140 pounds, and I'll be interested to see how Devin Haney handles the weight. So let me know what you guys think. Are you excited to see this one? What'd you think about how all of that developed on Twitter and the back and forth that we saw between Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson? And how do you think Haney's going to look at 140 pounds stepping in there against a man who can crack like Regis Prograis?